Hey everybody, interesting news cycle, isn't it? We have the situations with banks cracking, we've got the Fed still increasing interest rates, we've got mortgage rates still being more volatile than ever, we've got the people that have 3% mortgages on their current existing properties not putting them up for sale, layoffs on the rise as unemployment benefits climb ahead of projections, seemingly recession is on our doorstep. You've had some major players this week come out and say it is a bad time in the market. You had Robert Shiller of the Case-Shiller Index, Nobel Prize winning economist from Yale, saying delay your buying. You have the banking system being stress tested and checked closer than ever as we start to see weird signs in the economy. But what does that have in store for Florida? How is this market holding up? And this particular video, I'm aimed and directing this at the others in terms of the cities in the Florida market that I just don't seem to hit very often. Pretty consistently, I'm covering Jacksonville, Miami, Orlando, Tampa, but many of you have been saying, Jared, we need Daytona Beach, New Smyrna Beach, we need Volusia, Deltona, Deland, Naples, Cape Coral, Port Charlotte, and St. John County, which is going to be primarily St. Augustine. So today, you folks get your turn. We're going to cover a lot of the rest of Florida that I don't typically cover. We're going to case by case, and we're going to check them out. And while we're checking them out, I appreciate you checking this channel out. Please do me a favor and smash that like button, but let's get into the data.
So let's jump in. This is the new listings for the year. This is actually year-over-year data. This bright blue line is the 2023 graph. You got 2020, 2021, and 22 behind it. You can see this is actually one of the, this is a rare sighting for Florida. This is a rare sighting for any market. We actually have new listings trending against prior year. Most times there is what? A crisis of inventory. We're 6.5 million homes short in the marketplace. And this year, worse than ever, it's usually really low. So Cape Coral, you've actually got a decent amount of homes in the marketplace. Are you selling those homes? Homes sold trending multi-year low. Not great when you have a lot of homes in the market, but we'll see how they're holding their own. Median sale price. This is interesting, folks. So you have the peak right here. That was May going into June of last year. If you were to be able to continue this graph, because see, early part of this year it kind of carries over on the left, but if you were to carry this graph, it just faded, correction towards the end of the year, and then it peaked up just a small amount. So it peaked up a little bit coming into January, rose a little bit in February. Interest rates, though, were low January, and people were closing here in February. It'd be interesting to see if these newer high interest rates are going to help or hurt. And again, they're about 0.5% higher right now than they were in this early part of this graph. Okay, and that always affects price, no matter what real estate agents tell you about interest rates not driving home price. Baloney. Economy and economics is a function of supply and demand. Interest rates affect what, folks? Demand for housing. Demand for housing gets stifled, watered down, goes cold if interest rates go high because buyers immediately have a higher payment and they cannot pay as much. So look at this, folks. It's trending right towards, a few points off of the peak of last year. Right now it's showing a 6% gap above the early part of last year. So the news in your marketplace, if you're in Cape Corals, hey, prices are up 6%. That market's up. But I got news for you. If they do not rise in tandem with this big peak coming, then it's going to go straight and cross over, and you're actually going to see red year-over-year numbers. But again, we're going to have to see what happens. It's very interesting to see how this market is shaping up. Months of supply. This is an interesting one. So you've got middle of the road on month of supply. You're about, what, 14 weeks of months of supply. It's much higher, obviously, than last year. It's 8 weeks up. So that is obviously affecting the price increases are climbing, things of that nature. But basically right here, this isn't crazy, folks. You're at like a 3-month supply right now, just a little over that. And as far as the graph's concerned, it's too bad we don't have a 2019 line and an 18 and a 17 to see back into history. But it is interesting that it is, again, it's floating below the pandemic, folks. So that was obvious, why we had a little bit of a strain here because we locked our country down, all that kind of stuff. That's what we're running into on this graph. 2 years that fall were super hot, but we are seeing this kind of soften, really, I think, as a result of interest rates shifting. Average sale to list price is going to be the last thing I look at. I'm going to pull up some zip codes here for you. Right here, you've got rock bottom, sale to asking. This means that buyers are negotiating more from the sellers. They're swinging a little bit more towards buyer advantage. Sellers are getting out of the marketplace, but they're having to give more. You can see, look, fell off like a rock last year. And again, it's on the bottom. And again, I don't know if 2020 represents a typical year in Cape Coral. It might. So let's focus on zip codes, hot or not. Here we go, folks. You can see some of the hottest zip codes in terms of turnover. Everything is in triple digit year-over-year increase in terms of how many homes are there and available for the market. You can see some of the highest leaps. 33909 here in the northeast of Cape Coral is seeing 321%. Down the bottom here, down the west edge against the coast, you've got 914 and 991 at 206% each. That's a pretty big jump when you see their inventory levels. And again, remember, we saw this, right? We just saw the graph. We said, man, the marketplace as a whole is seeing a lot of inventory. Like there's it seems like there's more people listing homes here right now. But look at price reductions, folks. These are big numbers. 956. I don't remember this one being incredibly high on inventory year over year. They saw their share of increase, but it was like, I don't remember, 117%, whatever it was a second ago. But there's 40% price reduction, 38.5% price reduction. Interesting, right? But you have a lot of active sellers here, folks. Particularly, it looks like in a north to south sweep, the marketplace in Cape Coral is tighter across the north. Central part of Fort Myers as well, it has 33.9%. And then it looks like parts of the east side of Fort Myers is still holding. Sellers there are not reducing their price as much. Against the airport and then down south towards the east part of Fort Myers, you've got 30.8% in fact, which is a high number. When you start tipping 30%, folks, you really start to see your market change. Sellers are jockeying for the exits. That's what's happening, okay? Getting all they can on the way out. All right, folks, we're heading further north. We are in the Punta Gorda, Florida metro area. This is the Port Charlotte area. I could show you this on a map, but it encompasses the entire Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda, kind of similar space of area on this metro area that you saw on Cape Coral, Fort Myers combined, okay? So take a look at this. So again, wow, this area is seeing an influx of new listings. Wow. Okay, folks, this is interesting because we do a lot of updates. I cover monthly the Orlando market, Miami market, all those things. And if you've been tracking my channel, in those marketplaces, the new listings always graph like a crashing airplane, like a plane that came off the runway and goes and just flattens, and it stays below prior years. So you have these bigger metro areas that do not have near the volume hitting market of the previous 3 years, not even close. And yet you have these last two market metros that I've just showed you seemingly seeing a lot of listings. It's an active spring season in the southeast. So I'm really excited and glad that you guys have been requesting to see this because this is interesting. But at the same time, look at pending sales. So while you had a lot of homes hit the market, you don't have absorption. That's not good. That's going to result in activity such as price reductions and things of that nature in this market as well. We're going to have to see where that is. Next up in the area, homes sold. And again, look, this is not good, folks. This is absorption. You can see that even while you had a high number of homes hitting the market, you do not have a high number of homes exiting the market. In all likelihood, we should expect to see a rise in both age of inventory, months of supply corresponding. So here you go. Not higher than 2020 pandemic. We had higher age of inventory. It took longer to sell. People couldn't sell their house. There was a weird lock-in series, all that kind of stuff. And here you have it. Let's look at months of supply. Months of supply is an interesting graph because this shows how much inventory is sitting around unsold. Okay. So as you can see, it has been kind of a 4-5-year high, 4-year high on this graph. You can see it's really riding right on top of 2020, which again, very, very interesting. Median sale price, folks, wow. It is tangled to prior year, but it's down. So Punta Gorda area, your marketplace is negative 2%. You've crossed the line. Now, it'll be interesting to see if this can hold. I'll tell you that the absorption rates we just saw are not promising, folks. So for this, I think a lot of this is a gasp of a momentary air. And as long as the interest rates hang where they are, you might stay in tandem with this line. But if the interest rates climb, go past 7%, it is game over. You're going to have the blue line going towards the orange line. Next, a good graph, how the average sale to list price ratio. This is how much sellers are getting versus asking. Gives you an indication of the rate that buyers are negotiating in this marketplace. And it's at an all-time low on the graph. It's really interesting how 2020 was shaping up to be a rotten year in this area. Okay, folks, 2020, it was shaping up to be a rotten year. A lot of markets were symbolic of this. And 2023 is riding that turf on this graph. It's very common these days to see the average sale to listing be very, very poor. Sellers are having to give to get out. Okay? All right, folks, same area. We're going to look at these zip codes across. This is the increase in inventory year over year. Supply rising quickly, bad for the market, usually causes a little bit of price reduction activity. Here you go. Off to the east, you have 224 is 276% over year. You've got 269% of Rotunda West. You've got 981, 96%, which isn't crazy high, but who knows? It could be a lot for that area. And then across the board, 136, 154% going west. It gets really high at Deep Creek. You got 357% in that zip code. And then Punta Gorda at large is 174%. Which, folks, these are big numbers, okay? Anything over 150% can shock a market pretty well. And even, smaller numbers in a market that takes longer to sell in can really tense people up and cause more price cuts. But let's take a look. Where are people reacting the most to the change in inventory? Again, these markets out here, high price reductions. They had high year-over-year inventory. They have high price reduction activity. 33%, 35.7% in Rotunda West. And then again, some of these weren't, that in that much trouble. 28% is nothing to sneeze at. It's almost 3 out of 10. Closing on 1/3. And again, Punta Gorda at large, 32.6%. You're seeing price increase. Look at this, Deep Creek. They had 300% price increase, and they're 22.6. If you're trying to buy on the west side of I-75, folks, and you're just beating your head in the wall, your sellers might get the picture one day. But it's just interesting how that's not really materializing in price reductions yet. All right, folks, working to the northeast part of the state, we're in Volusia County. I'm looking at an entire county graph, and then as you can see here, pulling up new listings. This is obviously a far cry difference than what we've seen year over year on the last couple graphs and what was the west side of the state, southwest side. You can see new listings falling, okay? Looks like it's peaked back a little bit, but this is kind of common. And then I expect pending sales to be a bit off, It's bringing up the 4-year rear here. And then you kind of cruise over to median sale price. We want to see how it's holding. It's actually gapped over last year still. 5% running that little energy wave of the lower interest rates that we had. And then, obviously we'll have to see how this holds out. But right now, folks, Volusia County's price looks like it is put some distance on prior year. And then that's interesting to see. So months of supply kind of correlates. You've seen months of supply come up. This is obviously was a concern coming into the end of January when you had a multi-year high of the amount of inventory, the amount of choice is just stacking up, even though there's no listings hitting the market. And now buyers obviously sprung back in the beginning of the year, driving the number down and absorbing some houses off the market. Average sale to list price is at the floor. So sellers are getting out, but meanwhile, they're giving in to the buyers. Flipping to the price cut data, we're going to start north and go south in reverse. So you've got 34.4%. Obviously, Ormond Beach there is really, really high. Notice, looks like I said, 40%. And 32117, folks. Get yourself a deal right here because there's sellers coming out the woodwork to get out of the business. 32119, same deal. This is also getting high. You didn't see a very high jump in inventory here, folks, but you are seeing people in the proper Daytona 32114 probably hitting the market, going too high, overshooting the runway, and then price correcting because 1 out of 3 is reducing. You've got 124 is seeing 27.5%. This is Tomoka Farms Village. Forgive me if I butchered that. This is a 36%, very high rate, folks. Moving south, Deland. Remember, we had the east versus west. You've got a 28.4% reduction here, and you got 23.7% here, which I think is reversed, if I'm not mistaken. It feels like this had a much higher inventory on the west or east side, rather. Forgive me if I reversed that. But you have really kind of a balanced share of price reductions going across the land. South Orange City, reductions are slow and go there, 18.8%, 19.6% in DeBerry, and Deltona, except for Lake Helen right here, north 32744. Huge. 32744 has the most price reductions in all of Volusia County. Congratulations, Lake Helen. You guys are doing the right things to get your home sold. Or you just listed too far in the beginning. 32738, 28.5%, and again, Deltona is at 27.2%. So there we go, folks. All right, folks, we are in St. Johns County, home of St. Augustine, the oldest city in the state of Florida, if I'm not mistaken. Here we are, new listings. Look at that. That's more or less a trend that we typically see in the state of Florida, folks. Multi-year low homes in the market in St. Johns County. Pending sales also off. If we move towards median sale price, we're going to see that, wow, just fell beneath prior year, folks, negative 5%. That is interesting because it's on the upswing, but it's still trending below prior year. So we'll have to see. That I don't think is a great sign. I think you're probably going to see more price reduction activity in this particular market this year because this is fighting to stay. It looks like it was very, very, very hot in this marketplace last year. And as a result, you're going to see the market shifting a little. Now, this is a good sign, okay? It's interesting that price has taken a beating like it is because you had months of supply, which means the amount of standing available inventory in the face of no one putting their home on the market, it was climbing through the roof because buyers were just hitting the road, and obviously buyers have returned in the face of very low listings, and obviously months of supply is going back the other direction. So we'll see how this is working, but not a big number there. That's interesting. It's interesting to see how much months of supply the supply chain in the marketplace has actually started to correct since the beginning of the year. Look at this, folks. Average sale list price is a 4-year low. Wow. Buyers are being brutal in St. Johns County. Sellers are given the farm to sell and get out. Good for you guys. Get out if that's your goal. All right, so I'm going to start here at Ponta Vedra Beach. Wow, 227% year over year inventory growth. 32081, 362%. And I don't know, candidly, this area very well, folks. I don't know if this is highly rural. I don't know what I'm looking at on the north side of St. Johns County. So forgive me here. I don't even see county identifiers. I see Hilden and Elwood, cities that no one on this video has ever heard of before unless you actually live there. 284.4%. Two are big numbers in these areas. Going closer to St. Augustine North, 32084, 253%. Against the beach, you have 136%, folks, going through St. Augustine Beach. And now at the south, you've got 149. Elkton is 60% year over year, which isn't big, and I think we've already seen this. Let's take a look at price reductions. All right, so now we're back at Ponta Vedra Beach. We're looking at the grade of price reductions. How active are sellers at getting out of the market? I think this is probably one of the reasons of Ponta Vedra Beach. I'd not include this in oceanfront areas that I would, felt were in major correction because there's just only 22% of sellers there are cutting prices. So people are not moving on their prices there. Not really a move there yet. 32081, 16% down, nothing to see there. You've got Fruit Cove in area 32259, 28.1%. That's a pretty big number, folks. North side of St. Augustine, again, even though it looks like there's inventory in the market, they're not really reacting. So a 13% price reduction. Folks, it is interesting. St. Augustine, depending on the data you look at, that's a price movement there, folks. 20% on this side. Coming down here, you got 25.6% and 22% in Elkton on the south. So the last market I'm going to update you on, Port St. Lucie is the lucky winner. This is a marketplace that is Port St. Lucie, Stuart, Florida, just north of West Palm Beach. This is the new listing situation here. Again, very typical Florida, very, very low in terms of new sellers feeling comfortable putting their house on the market. Then you've got, again, slumping pendings. Even though there's not much in new construction, even though there's not much in people putting their homes on the market, they're not going under contract either. Look at price. Whoom. Port St. Lucie is seeing a flat price, folks, kind of descending. They didn't really get that uptick that we saw all day on this update where it was kind of cruising up as the interest rates kind of got more favorable. But here we go. $377,000 represents a 1% year over year there. Months of supply. We've got months of supply falling. That's a good sign. We'll have to see where that will end up. And average sale to list price is on the floor, folks. So buyers there are getting what they want. Sellers there are giving everything to get out. That's it for now. If you are looking to buy or sell anywhere in the US and you'd like to book a consult call with me, there's a link in the description below to jump on my calendar for free. Secondly, for great market information and real estate updates, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you along on this journey. Give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. If you appreciate the studying, the content, the information, the time I've taken to put this out, greatly appreciate it, and we'll talk to you on the next one.